What's up, folks? Welcome back to TacticalTortoise. My name is Trevi, and recently I played a game playing only snakes. With some exceptions, the self-imposed list restriction is that everything in the army had no hind legs. To this end, I played tyranids because they have the highest snake quotient of any faction in Warhammer 40k. That meant units like Molochs, Trigons, and Raveners are in. Garbage feet walkers like Exocrines and Maliceptors are right out.
We don't serve their kind here.
So to begin the list, I started by windmill slamming every single one of those cute snakes that I could, including 18 Raveners, 3 Trigons, and 3 Molochs. The legal buoyed army content allowed before the police have to pull you over. For the detachment, I chose Invasion Fleet. The snake body plan has very little synergy with any of the other detachments because they lack the fancy keywords. They're not even Vanguard Invader. Invasion Fleet has a bunch of generic buffs that can supercharge the attacks of anything in the Tyranid faction, which is why we're taking it. And for anything making a million shitty attacks, getting sustained hits or lethal hits is especially effective. And how many attacks do Raveners happen to get?
1 million.
Because the 6 big snakes, the 3 Trigons, and the 3 Molochs come together to cost a neat 975 points, they're just a hair under half of the total value of the army, which means we're legally allowed to put all of them into Deep Strike at the start of the game. Raveners are fast infantry, so they can actually move through ruin walls and hopefully hide well enough to survive the first turn. Then they can use their own uppy-downy ability to put themselves into Deep Strike later on if you want to, for some reason, put almost the entirety of your army into reserve. Now, from that baseline of serpentine splendor, we need some support. Unfortunately, the strength value of the snakes is relatively low. Not having legs to brace against when you're doing lifts or push-ups does make it difficult to get a pump on, so the majority of this army hits at a wildly anemic strength value. Fortunately, we have neurolictors to try to shore that up. These guys are going to drop battle shock tests on the opponent's units and give you +1 to wound if they fail those tests. And there's nothing that a low strength, monstrously high volume twin-linked attack likes better than +1 to wound, which literally doubles their chance of doing damage to most targets.
Best friends forever. Yeah!
Now, technically, neurolictors aren't actually snakes, but I think they were able to bluff their way onto the team with their long, shapely legs. On top of that, we will also include a Neuro Tyrant. Given that none of the snakes are synapse creatures, we'll need all the help from the Neuroloids we can get. He also combos well with the Neurolictors, since there's a significantly greater chance that your opponent fails their battle shock checks to Shadow in the Warp, which then buffs your approximately 1.7 trillion crappy attacks against them. Technically, he's got legs, but they're really, really tiny ones, and he doesn't even use them. So, like, if we squint hard enough, the Neuro Tyrant can also count as a snake. Now, while we won't attach him to them, we'll also include some Neuro Gaunts as well, largely because I had points left over, but also because they can extend his synapse range to get synapse to more units. Given that we're spending a lot of points on the big snake bricks, having a cheap unit to stand on objective is pretty useful. So that's the core of the list constructed. Now we actually have to win the game by scoring points. So we'll slot in 20 gargoyles. These don't have real legs, just vestigial ones. They count as flying snakes and fulfill our restrictions. Lastly, we also have a Biovore to make spore mines to score secondaries with. This guy's a spider. I don't know, I don't have an excuse for him, but we gotta get points somewhere. So with the list all wrapped up in a nice bow, I submitted it to a tournament and slithered my way into my game. My opponent had an artillery-focused Astra Militarum list. Now, unfortunately for us, this poses a bit of a problem. With the big snake starting in reserve, everything in my army is a cute little snake. And through rigorous scientific testing, I've determined that the life expectancy of a cute little snake when exposed to 50 imperial kilograms of DPICM submunitions is...
Oh no!
Not long. High accuracy, flat damage artillery is a nightmare for these guys because it wounds them on 2s or 3s, hits consistently, and it probably one-shots or at best case scenario 2-shots them. This is going to be an uphill battle.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
What does that mean? What are you talking about?
And as slithery as the big snakes are, they don't slither quite fast enough to outrun a 380mm penetrative demolisher shell. So they have to tunnel into Deep Strike to avoid getting pounded to death by the 2 Leman Russes in my opponent's list. Now, fortunately for our hungry snakes, the rest of the Militarum army was filled with an edible arrangement of haplessly kidnapped conscripts from northeastern France circa 1916.
What the fuck am I doing here?
For this mission, we played Chosen Battlefield, an interesting mission modifier with the unique mechanical effect of making the pregame phase take 10 minutes longer before you and your opponent both agree to arrange the map symmetrically.
I'm gonna do that, and then at the end of the game, I'm gonna be like, why did I do that? That was stupid.
I was a little worried about my poor, cute little spider being detonated like an overinflated balloon by high explosives before it got to score me any of my victory points that I really like. So before the battle commenced, we had a small ceremony for one of the Trigons, who was promoted from mindless cannon fodder to be thrown upon the waiting guns and bayonets of space Germany to mindless guard duty, tasked with standing on my back objective and holding it the entire game and largely not being killed by artillery. This opened just enough space in my reserves pool to start the Biovore and a pack of gargoyles in strategic reserve.
What is that? What the fuck is that?
Now, one of the most important skills I've been cultivating in my long and storied Warhammer 40k career has been the art of rolling really high, and I exercised that practice skill by winning the roll to go first.
4.
3.
Oh, it's me. Yay.
Damn.
I love going first.
This was a pretty big deal because it let me commit a reverse St. Patrick's Sing onto the ruins in the center of the table, infesting them with a slither of snakes in positions where the ludicrously oversized Militarum guns couldn't draw line of sight. I did sacrifice one of the Neurolictors, however, to limit the movement of one of the Leman Russes to prevent it from shooting at the Raveners. In my opponent's turn, the de-snaking of the battlefield began, with artillery blasting my forward unit of cuddly murder worms. Fortunately, judicious use of rapid regeneration did keep one alive, but my army's ability to heal itself was quickly curtailed by the Militarum's resident dominatrix, whose rhythmic gyrations distracted the poor snakes to the point that their cells literally forgot how to replicate themselves.
You've been a bad boy. And bad boys have to be punished, Michael.
Once the dust had cleared, one Ravener survived the initial bombardment and was met with a good old-fashioned bayonet charge that saw him unceremoniously run over by a horse. That proved to be a fatal mistake on his part, however, since his unit of chronometrically challenged World War I trench fighters were met by a withering hail of blistering shooting from the remaining Ravener's unstoppable thorax weapons.
Here's the Ravener unit. Hits on 4s, 6s explode, moves on 3s. 2 AP 0.
2 AP 0.
What a time to be alive. Yeah. No, get wrecked! AP 0 doesn't matter if your opponent rolls like garbage. Let's go!
Yeah. Cowed by the ranged might of the Tyranid army, they were then subsequently nibbled to death by 10 wiggly danger noodles being dosed heavily with stimulants.
They attack 42 times. Let's go. 34
Nice.
AP 1s, my dude.
34 AP 1s. 2 CP and re-rack this unit.
Quantity leads us to quality.
Okay, so then these guys will go. Raveners have altogether too many attacks. These miss, these explode. No, they don't. You're a mounted unit. What if I don't kill Lone Solar because he's mounted? So I could pay a CP to make a normal move now. Okay, I'll do that. Please, sir, don't shoot me with artillery. This name should be why is this working? All right, chat, to be fair, we saw Raveners, probably one of the best infantry troopers in 40k, attack a unit of 25 infantry models. It's all downhill from here.
Unfortunately, that spelled the end for all the little snakes, who were then ground to a fine paste by judicious application of saturation bombardment. On the opposite side of the battlefield, however, drama was unfolding, as a cunning assassination plot against the remaining Krieg Marshal was foiled by his unbeatable melee prowess and decades of expert fencing training in the best Prussian military school his Junker uncle could buy.
Neurolictor, 5-6 decks. I'll start on the watch captain again, the watch guy. I'm gonna get my command point if it's the last thing I do. No! Stop! Stop making saves!
5 up.
No!
Yeah. 5 up. That takes 2.
No! He lives on 1.
Lives.
What a jerk!
Quickly, all of the Neurolictors were summarily executed for their crime of degenerate bipedalism.
You need to leave.
Round 3 quickly approached, and the big snakes that were in reserve were contractually obligated to stop slacking off and actually arrive onto the battlefield.
I want to stay on the objective just in case you kill all my dudes because you're a jerk. And you seem to be, for some reason, really like hell-bent on removing my models from the battlefield. Which I really don't understand. They're only little snakes. All they want to do is snake around.
However, they did forget one Trigon behind because he was on vacation, so they left him to go rock climbing. That Trigon, however, was tasked with a higher purpose.
One more? Oh no, he's dead.
He's staying in melee. He's staying in deep trick. All right.
You can keep him beyond 3?
Yeah, but because I went first, so I have to rapid ingress him on the top of your turn. And that's what I'm going to do.
Oh, that's cool.
The Molochs erupted onto the battlefield, did a piddling number of inconsequential mortal wounds, and were exploded. But not before taking one of the tank commanders with them. Off the battlefield, in the arid wastelands of Arizonas 3, a message landed in the ground near the last Trigon's feet. Contained inside the tiny rocket were a pair of cool Trigon-sized VR goggles. He chuckled softly to himself, and donning them, listened to the dulcet tones of Anthony Hopkins narrate a series of images detailing his mission, should he choose to accept it. Orders thus memorized, and cool VR goggles safely self-destructed, Trigom Cruz stealthily snuck his 7.1 meter, 10-ton mass into the very heart of the enemy stronghold, silencing their artillery in a running gun battle and exciting car chase, and stealing their home objective. With Trigom Cruz at their back and an annoying band of flappy idiots pinning them in the front, the Astra Militarum were running short on time and victory points. While a devastating final salvo killed most of the remaining Tyranids and won the Imperial Guard lots of end-of-game VPs, it was too little, too late, and the snakes slithered their way to a 91-85 victory. So on the whole, I don't know, this list is pretty good. Snakes are cool. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. Let me know if you like this style of content. It's pretty experimental and I was having some fun with it, but I have a lot more funny challenge lists scheduled if you're interested in watching them. Big thanks to everybody who supports the channel as well. All their names are up here on the screen, either over on Patreon at patreon.com/TacticalTortoise, YouTube channel members, and Twitch subscribers. All you people are great, and I love you. Remember to keep it classy, folks, and have happy wargaming.
I mean, you build this obviously for like, not really kill your opponent, but just to kind of deny primary and like deny
My
their
man,
primary.
you are
and
giving
wait
me
off
way too much credit. I built this because it had all the snakes in it.
No, you did that. I don't believe that to be true.
No, it's 100%.